Welcome back to the Hooligan Hangout. This week we are reviewing Gran Turismo, directed by Neil Blomkamp, starring Archie Madakwe, David Harbour, Orlando Bloom. Obviously based on a true story, based in PlayStation Studios. This was a video game based on a video game. So the plot, in case you don't know, is the true story of a team of unlikely underdogs, a working-class gamer, a former race car driver, and an idealistic motorsport executive who risk it all to take on the most elite sport in the world. Where do we want to start with this?
I would like to start off by saying I feel old as fuck to have witnessed something go full circle. If y'all haven't heard me talk about this before, I think we talked about it whenever we found out it was going to be a thing. I actually own Gran Turismo and on the VR, and I would play it a lot. And I actually had it during the time of that contest. So it was cool because I didn't live it. Obviously, I fucking suck at driving games. I would not qualify for shit. But it was really cool to see like a game I play have like actual effect on the outside world, which was it is crazy that now not only did I witness that event happen and I kept up with it, but I also just got to rewatch it in a movie, which is even crazier to happen in the same lifetime.
I think it's cool because I actually, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like the only people that knew about that were the actual like Gran Turismo community because I had no clue they even did something like that.
Yeah, see, I played the game, back in the day, but I never knew this contest existed. So
I thought it was cool off the jump because
but
they didn't try to keep it
was
like,
this
secret.
contest?
It was pre-COVID, I think.
Oh, so just recently.
I think it was like 2016, 17.
It was like in 2015.
See, I was thinking it was like, I don't know.
A while ago?
Yeah, I thought it was a while ago.
No, dude, it was like fairly recently. That's how come I remember it happening.
Because
so
Gran
clearly.
Turismo, that was a game all the way back in like the PS2, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one I played. I stopped playing that a long time ago, so that's probably why I didn't know about it.
GT Academy ran from 2008 to 2016.
Dang. So it was probably 2008 then.
Somewhere in between there. I thought it was like 2011, 2013-ish when the story was set.
No, I remember because I was still in high school, I think, because that's what I vaguely remember. Because Gran Turismo was one of the first games I had for the PlayStation 4.
Mm-hmm.
And that would check out because that's around the time when
now imagine how realistic then games would be now.
Oh, I still play it. They are very realistic.
Yeah.
They're literally the driving simulator of the world.
Anyways, outside of that, on to the actual movie.
Dude, I loved this movie. I loved it.
I think this movie was just as much of an underdog as the story was itself. No one thought this was going to be good. Everyone thought this was going to be shit.
What?
But it came out and genuinely surprised.
Who thought that?
I've only heard especially after the first reviews came in, and everyone was like, "Eh, kind of mid."
Really?
And then everyone was like, "Yeah, I expected that."
That's crazy.
I never thought it was gonna be bad. Yeah, the only thing that would have made me think it was gonna be bad is fucking Uncharted.
What do you mean?
The video game movie
bad.
Before, yeah.
And I said it was bad, and y'all were all very
that's
above average
video game adaptation. That's not a story of someone, That's way different. You can't even compare those two.
Yeah, but it's PlayStation Studios. It's the same studio.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I thought it was a great story. It was genuinely better than I anticipated it to be.
Yeah, it was.
I have a soft spot for sports movies, so that just kind of, it tickled my pickle a little bit, if you will. Especially
biopics too.
I do have some. Go ahead.
Let Anthony talk, Noah.
I am.
Oh no, I was gonna
spit it out.
Go to the next spot.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I do have some cons for the movie, though.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
And what my biggest con, and the whole time I kept going back to this in my head, but they spent almost no time with the family of the guy. Like in the beginning, yeah, when he kept playing the game in his room, that's like all we really see from his family until the end of the movie. But that in between part, like, where was his dad when he was on his first race? You know, where was his dad when
They
that
literally tell you.
that big major thing happened? That
They
wait, are we doing
they do tell
spoilers?
you. Fuck it, it's a real event. Why not? Everyone knows what happened in
Honestly,
real life.
yeah.
You can Google it.
Okay,
But
where was his
they
dad
do.
when he got airlifted to the hospital? Like,
They literally say
what do
it.
they say?
First of all, the first race, they said, "Yeah, sweetie, that's great. Your dad's at your brother's soccer game."
Well, yeah,
Word for
but like
word.
they kind of just graze past it though. You would think
Well, that was the point.
after the soccer play, he would be watching it on TV, or he'd go to the next race, or he'd do something. But
Well,
No,
that was the
I
point.
do I
Is
do
the
agree
point
with
was to
you.
drive the fact that he wasn't supportive until the very end. That
well,
was the whole
then
point.
and that okay, that was the other thing. I know that he wasn't supportive and he wasn't there for the kid in real life, but then you could show that part of how he deals with that. You know, if my
Now,
dad didn't show up to a huge race like that, that would hurt me. You know, that would it would have been nice to see how it affected him. But they didn't even
now,
like they just brazed past it like it didn't even
this
matter.
is
He didn't
also
care.
one of the issues with doing a biopic. That's something that might have been so personal to the actual person that he just didn't want to include much of it because it was that
Mm,
traumatic for him.
Yeah, but even
possibly,
then,
if that's the
even
case, but
then,
it is.
I feel like I agree with Anthony in the sense that it did show his hardships, like in a physical aspect. It never showed his hardships, like mentally, like how he was dealing with certain things.
Yeah,
I agree,
like
but I mean, it's something that just happened recently, so I doubt homeboys like, yeah, bro. My mom and dad hate me. They hated me until I won.
well, I don't
We'll
know.
put that in the movie. Like,
If
I
okay,
think
if
that
that's
was
the
a
case,
personal decision from him to not
if
release family stuff.
if that's the case, then okay, I get it. But I don't think it is. But I mean, if it is, I understand. But if it's not,
Yeah, I
I
agree.
wish they would have showed more of that.
You
What?
just froze for like a whole 30
You broke
seconds.
up, yeah, the whole time.
Anyways, that was just the biggest thing that kind of irked me.
I agree.
Um,
That did bother me, but my rationalization was that it was just something that was a little too deeply personal that he did not feel comfortable with sharing with the world.
Yeah.
But I get that they probably pushed him to include some bit of it just to make it feel more personal, you know? They're like, hey, man, at least put, this part in. And he's like, oh, fine, but nothing fucking more than that.
I mean,
And I
maybe,
think that's how I
but
would react if I was in that situation, you know?
yeah, but if you're retelling a story, they had to come to him first before they actually did the story,
yeah,
and he agreed to tell his story.
They could agree to tell some part of his story. Like, it could have very well been something he's like, yeah, I'll talk about what happened, but I won't go into my family. And then they're like,
Oh,
fuck
which
like
it,
I
is
that
said,
fine.
works.
like I said, if that's the case, I get it. But if it's not, they could have done better. You know?
Yeah, there's aspects you can say don't include, but I don't think you can be super defensive when you're the one that agreed to telling your story.
Right.
I think you
Like
can.
they
It's
could have
literally your
just.
story. You have all the right to tell what parts you want.
Yes, but if Sony executives are going up and saying, "Can we tell your life story?" I don't think you can be super defensive when they ask you questions that are personal.
I think you literally can. It's your right. It's your privacy.
I see both sides, but I don't know.
You have a right to, but you have to expect that they're going to ask questions like that. You can say no, but I'm just saying you have to expect they're going to ask personal questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what if he's accepted it, knowing that they'd ask, knowing that he would just say "fuck off" and then make a movie around it?
Then that's fine. I'm not saying anything wrong
And
with
I
that.
think the movie that they made around it was fantastic. And I think if they would have had to exclude some parts of the actual racing portion to include parts of his family, I think I would have not enjoyed that movie as much.
I don't know. We could agree
It was
to
already
disagree on that
it was
part,
already
but
a 2 hour and 10 minute long movie. If you want to sprinkle in
yeah,
about 30 minutes of family stuff, it's a 2.5 hour movie about a dude who played video games.
yeah. I will also say, there was a lot of racing in this movie. It was a 2 hour long movie, so it was long. But this time frame of him first getting accepted into the academy to winning that race, I'm sure that was a huge time frame over, months and years, right? So I think they crunched it really well. But one thing I don't think they did show is his training. They showed a little bit of the training, but they didn't really show his failures of how he got better, because he wasn't just off the rip immediately really good. You know what I mean? Like he
See,
had
the
to go
I
through a
second
lot
part
agree.
of
about
training.
him like crashing the car and throwing up and literally almost dying several times.
But that's during the races, not during the practice.
One of them literally happened during the first practice that we ever see on screen.
Okay. I mean, maybe. I just
And they
think,
show him around the facility all the time. There's literally a training montage wedged into the movie halfway through where he's going to get his license. There's like a 10-minute long training compilation and how each race went and how the different things he did between
That's
the
not
races.
training. That's
yeah,
actual
that's not
racing.
training though. Yeah.
No, there was
I'm talking
training,
about,
motherfucker. There's literally scenes of him driving. There were scenes of him running. There were scenes of him doing push-ups,
yes,
sit-ups,
yes. I
bench
know
Yeah,
press.
what,
we're not
I do
talking
know what
about
you
that.
mean.
We're talking about you. You were talking about the races when he kept getting higher in his placement to get his license.
Yeah.
The whole first 30 minutes of the movie was him failing and barely squeaking by.
Yeah, that is true.
And it had way more ups and downs, and like you make it seem like it was all up, but he would go up
Right.
and then he would lose, then he would go up, then he got in a
I
almost
mean,
fatal car
yeah,
crash, then he went
that is
up
a good
and then he
point.
No,
lost.
it was a classic underdog story. He had to keep fighting for it, for what he
Yeah.
loved, and he had to be. He was very determined, and he worked really hard for it. But I will say, with what you were saying, Anthony, though, that was one of my biggest things. Is I thought the pacing was fine for like the crunch of like the GT Academy. I just feel like the GT Academy they should have done a little bit more with it. And the movie is pretty long, so they did have to like you
Right.
said crunch it. But I feel like they should have done more to like develop like his relationship with his teammates at the academy, for instance.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, they're not really his teammates though, they were his competitors at the time, and they did develop the ones that he brings on for teammates.
Not really. They just
And
appeared
then
right back at the end.
yeah, and then they developed them while they're in the training session, which is the first 30 minutes of the movie.
That's not development. That's throwing them in and saying, okay, these guys are your friends now.
They
and he was
literally
cool with it.
developed them for 30 minutes and then showed them after he won, shaking hands and congratulating each other, and then saying, yeah, we're just really competitive. We're cool.
That's not developing a special relationship.
It's not a special relationship. Nothing entails them having a special relationship. Not even the ending showed them having a special relationship. It just showed them showing up to help him.
That was my thing with the ending too. Is I feel like it just kind of, it's kind of like those old 80s, 70s, 80s movies like Rocky or Karate Kid, where it just ends, like they win and then it just ends.
Yeah,
There's
what the
no,
fuck
like,
more do you want to
aftermath.
see?
I want to see the aftermath.
Yeah, well, what more do you want to see? Homie won. That's the story they were going to tell. What is wrong with ending on a win?
I want to see more with his girl. Did he was that his wife, or I want to see more with his family. Them being supportive. Where I don't know where his brother went. Where did his brother go?
Yeah,
Maybe I
just
missed
what
it.
It's
happened
literally
afterwards.
he was in the crowd the whole time watching him with his girl.
Yeah, the crowd.
Did
I want
he
to see
win and then
afterwards.
that's
Yeah,
it?
I want to see how they all
Why would you want to see that when they didn't develop him at all to begin with?
I'm
You
not
know,
talking about
even-
them. I'm talking about the family. I'm not talking about
Even
those
if
two
it
people.
was just a 5-minute little thing like at the end of Sandlot, I would have been happy with that. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Exactly.
Just something little. It doesn't have to be a
Exactly.
whole
Exactly. I agree.
I think ending on the absolute emotional apex, which is winning a very tense thing, that is a perfectly valid place to leave a movie.
It is valid. It's okay to want a little more.
That is the adrenaline apex. That's why you want more, because it left you on such a high note. You're like, oh fuck.
Okay, but that doesn't mean I'm wrong for wanting more.
It doesn't mean you're wrong.
But
No, it
I
doesn't
think
mean you're wrong. It
besides
just
those
means
two
that you fell
things,
for, I think, the ending they intended. I think they did that on purpose to leave you like wanting that little bit more.
possibly, I could see that. But I think besides those two things for me, I don't really have any other cons. I think the pacing, even though I wanted more bits and pieces of these little things that we've mentioned, even without those, the pacing was still great. It was still.
I was worried that it was gonna rush things.
Sorry.
like
Ugh.
especially towards the end. But once I really grew like about an hour in, and he was just like barely touching the professional side, I was like, okay, they will go in depth, and I like how they went really in depth with his career and each race that he did.
Yeah. I do have a question though. Because he was doing multiple races,
Mhm.
and then of course he had that accident. And then his coach was basically like, hey, there's one more race you can do to prove yourself, but you need 3 people. Is that like that's like a different is that like a different level of race? Like I don't get
It's the
was he
most
not working
physically intense race in the world.
so was he not already building up to that anyways?
No,
No,
he was just gonna try to have the best regular career that any driver has ever had.
But then he
But then
failed,
that,
so he's like, you know what? I'm gonna be the
yeah,
best of the best.
yeah. So he's like, you know what? I got to do something fucking nutty that no one will
That's
challenge
fair.
me on.
because the narrative's
But then
coming out
all the
after.
people in the old race were in that race too, so
Well, they're all trying to compete,
yeah.
but I think the narrative coming out when he had his accident, because the whole underdog thing was like, oh, he was a gamer, he can't do this. So when he crashed and was like in an accident, and then was thinking about retirement, they were like, yeah, he can't do this. He's just a
Yeah.
gamer. He's not built for this. And he's like, no, fuck that noise.
This guy really lived out the movie of Cars
Yeah,
with
and he
Doc
did.
Hudson.
His name is Yan. Just to clarify.
Ian.
Why don't you clarify these nuts?
Which, I mean, before we get into that, those little positives, I think the other thing is maybe I'm crazy, but like this movie's like based in like 2013, right? Like from some point before 2016, right?
Right.
We can agree on that.
There's a lot of technology.
We can agree on that. I'm asking
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, I don't know why they had a PS5 in it.
I was gonna say that. Why is there a PS5 controller in there?
Oh, I
Pretty
didn't even
sure
notice that.
that they were just like, fuck it, we'll just run the ad. It's our shit.
I get that this movie is made by PlayStation Studios and shit, but stuff like that is just like, I'm like, come on, man.
I mean,
I get
when
it,
do
though.
movies ever get things 100%? Like, I doubt that the movie that we just watched is actually what happens, and I'm sure the actual events are way less glorious and
Yeah.
a little bit more nefarious. But
I know, but that's like
for what it
blatant
was,
product. That's blatant product placement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They definitely did that on purpose.
I concur. I did think that was weird, and I forgot to bring that up, so I'm glad you did.
I did like okay, one thing I loved is in the very, very beginning. I think it was like, oh yeah, it was like the first time we see him playing. The car around him like forms in his bedroom. You
That was
know,
pretty cool. Yeah,
that's
like he's
cool.
in the
But what I
simulation.
really liked is then at the end when he's actually on the track and he's racing for real, the opposite happens. The car disappears from around him, and now he's back in his bedroom. It's like a full circle. I really liked that.
And honestly, I'm gonna say it. The cinematography was fucking nutty.
So good.
I think the cinematography. I was gonna bring it up from like an overview aspect of like the track and stuff because Neil Blomkamp does a lot of that stuff, like helicopter shots and stuff, overviews, and it looked really cool whenever they were doing it on the track with the shots because in the nice like in the best way possible, it felt like a video game, like with the track overviews with how they showed it.
Yeah.
Like it felt like you're watching
Yeah.
a racing video game, and then it would show the little blips with like where all the place he's at and stuff. Like I thought that was really cool.
I thought
to
that was
incorporate.
cool, and then I thought that it was really effective too with the shots they chose because it made you feel in the race. Like it,
Oh,
it did
yeah.
a good job of building up
And
that the
They actually
adrenaline in you.
used the race cars on the track and everything too, so it was like actual footage. That's why you think it's like you're actually there.
Yeah, very very intense, and they were really entertaining races.
And then I think it said this in the movie, or maybe I read it somewhere else. I don't remember. Did y'all see the real guy that it's based off of? He was the stunt double.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
it's just pretty cool. He was all in, bro. I'm glad that his story's brought to life. I'm happy for him.
yeah. And it was a solid movie. I do respect this movie a lot.
Yeah, and go ahead.
I was just gonna say, not with like the other supporting characters. Like I didn't feel like a connection to them, but like our main character, like Yan, I feel like I didn't realize how invested I was until he like slow motion flipped, and I was like, no fucking
Dude,
way. Like I was actually
me
sad.
too.
Mm-hmm. You're just
I
like, oh
you
fuck.
feel so connected to him.
And
And
it's
David
weird too
Harbour's
because
character too was fantastic.
he was good.
And he
Oh, yeah.
delivered such a good performance too.
And what I liked about that scene too, in particular, is not only do you learn how much you're connected to him, you learn how much his coach is too. Because as soon as he flipped, like you could see it in his face, like and, he started running in slow motion to go check on him,
Mm-hmm.
because he's
It
been there.
happened to
I mean,
him. Yeah.
at that point, they've probably been together for I don't know how long, at least months,
Yeah.
So that's
No,
really cool too.
Y'all got
it's-
anything else?
Regarding that, and I liked how it showed how real quick. I liked how it showed how dangerous it was. Like there'd be like some
Yeah.
dude exploding, and you legit feel for him because you'd be like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that
even
happens
with
for real.
yeah, it's scary.
I know.
But even then, like my last thing about what we were just talking about Jan was like it really showed how dangerous it was, and just the like the real humanity of it, because like he was literally crying, and so he didn't care about like his damage. He cared about like who he killed,
Yeah.
and I think that's like so sad.
Now the same thing happened to his coach, and that's why he stopped racing.
Mm-hmm. For a
So,
short time.
I also did like
coach.
when he I wish they showed more with his dad, but at the end when he reunited, I don't know why it took me so long to say, with his dad. I loved that scene too because you could feel the emotion.
Oh yeah.
They had a
Between both of
badass
them.
actor play him too.
Yeah.
Mhm. Great choices. But that's all I got.
All right. Y'all ready for the ratings?
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready.
You first then.
8.5.
Oh, okay. 8.5. Huh?
No,
What'd you say?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, 7.5.
Wait. Why is 7.5? That seems pretty low.
I argued it.
That's fair. I was gonna give it like at least a 9.
At least a 9, so you're giving it a 9?
Yeah, I'll give it a 9.
Okay. Perfect. And I have stuff to talk about. But that is going to be on Unhinged, guys. So if you haven't checked out our other show, Unhinged, make sure you check it out. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Check out all links of our socials that are in the description down below. Make sure to check out our merch shop. And we'll see you next week for the next movie review.
See ya.
Peace.
Red.